Welcome. Nice to be here. Nice to have the opportunity to speak. Normally, I'm a bit sociophobic. You wouldn't believe it, but it's such a nice gathering of nice people. So, hello. That is my topic. What does CanG mean for German cannabis patients? It's a topic, I think, the last 2 days some people spoke about it, but it's my patient's view because I'm a patient. I'm a patient since for many years. In 2011 or 2012, I got my first official treatment in a clinic with dronabinol. And yes, we had some experience with self-therapeuting, some friends who died on cancer. We brought them hashish to the hospital, for example. So I have known for a long time that cannabinoids can be a functional medical treatment for very ill people. So that's why I am connected to this and why I am one of these early cannabis patients. I got an exceptional approval in 2013. Yes, I studied sociology. I'm spokesman of the Self-Help Network. I'm country representative in the IACM Patient Council. Maybe you heard of it. It's the international action platform. Yes, and I'm board member of ACM. It's the organization that was founded by Dr. Gero Kohlhaas. He's a famous German cannabis doctor. He brought it on the way, you can say, in Germany. I worked a long time as consultant and teacher in the educational and social sector. I worked with refugees, with people who don't have much money. So I'm used to give consultings, to give people advices, and to help people. And yes. The SCM was founded in 2006 by a friend of mine, a gardener. He's Carsten Elvering, there's an ing too much, sorry, and Gabriele Gebhardt. She fought for her man, who is very ill, and there were some other patients, I can't call them all. It was the first self-help network about this topic, and how shall I say, the first patients gathered there, connected themselves, informed each other, shared their knowledge with each other, and so it came to the first exceptional approvals. It wasn't special and official permission to buy cannabis to treat yourself accompanied by a doctor. So that's the best prescription. My accompanying doctor was Dr. Gero Kohlhaas. He was the first doctor for many people in Germany who did this. So the Ausnahmegenehmigung, the exceptional approval, was the first milestone, I would say, on the way to cannabis as medicine. The Self-Help Network managed some projects. Under it was the Hanfapotheke, hemp pharmacy. Patients supplied patients, home growing or growing in a bigger format, and patients didn't have to pay. It was a very good thing, but some people went to jail, and but it was a very cool thing to supply patients who didn't knew anything about hemp, who weren't able to grow for themselves, and so on. And I don't think that ill people should care themselves for their medicine if they don't know anything about it. So maybe it's something for people who know a bit. So patients shared weed and wisdom. Yes, that's one of the big milestones. The next was applying for home cultivation. So even for self-therapy, because people who couldn't afford the costs for the high cannabis prices, some had to pay 90 up to 120 or 130 euros just for 5 gram. So they self-supplied themselves to make their self-therapy. Even this model was accompanied by a doctor, and some patients who got home searches, who had some repressional acts to stay through, they landed at the High Court. And the High Court said, yes, you have the right to home cultivate because you don't have enough money for the therapy. I think this was the first step to, or the second step maybe, to the law of 2017, the Cannabis prescription bill. So since then, cannabis can be prescribed officially, but the people who don't find a doctor or anything, you see all this in this picture, who don't have the private assets, who don't have the trust into medical system because over 20 years or so they were told they are junkies or they are addicted, nobody believed them maybe. They are out of the system. So self-therapy is quite important. So since years we do support for patients, we do the political work, empowerment, education, all the connecting, networking work. We are a bit unconventional because we speak out for low barrier access, because if there's no low barrier access to cannabis as medicine, people will land on the recreational market. And then they will supply themselves and self-medicate themselves. Even if I think that many people can do this, it's not something that the system wants. So the system has to supply patients, has to make sure that there's a low barrier access. So we make meetings, online meetings, presence meetings. We are unpaid and voluntarily, but because of the whole work, and it gets more work and more work. It started with 4 strains, now we are 400 strains, so much different wholesalers, and so on. So it's much to do, even connected with the political situation about CanG and so on. The work for us as patients self-help network, as patients representatives, it grows, it gets more and more. So, and because of, for example, ethical problems, because of problems in marketing, even patients' behavior, medial political discourse, and statistics telling the people that they are much pseudo-patients. All these are topics for us, and we will have these 4 points. I try to explain why some things are problematic, why they may be good on the other side, because we have to be more dialectic, I think. If there's a telemedical service who has very low prices and which is being advertised, for example, something that we don't want to have in this biz maybe. Everything's okay? Fine. Okay. On the other side, many patients have the ability to buy at low prices. It's a very good thing for all the people who don't have much money. So if the prices go down and more self-payers are enabled to buy cannabis in a pharmacy, we have such political discourse. Are these pseudo-patients? Are these junkies who get prescriptions from doctors because there is no no chance to buy legal cannabis. You know, at this moment, cannabis is being decriminalized, but nobody who wants to consume some cannabis can buy it legally. The shops are still closed. The communities, I mean, the CSCs, they start next month. The framework isn't clear for them. So over the last years, these patients who are self-payers in our system, we have three classes of patients: self-payers, people with private health insurances, and people with general health insurances. And here you see the red is the general insurance, and the blue one, these are the private and self-payer patients. You see more self-payers get cannabis prescriptions, and the younger the people are, and there will be more self-payers. Everything's okay? Maybe you come. It fell off. Must be my hair. Sorry. So this is just an example for the whole discussion and problems around marketing. You see a famous German pharmacist and a hip-hop star. He's very famous by younger people, but even people 30 till 50. He, how shall I say, he unions generations, and he stands for German gangster rap. So you see, he behaves like a pharmacist. He has no clothes. Dealers would light into their big package of weed, this pharmacist, what he wants to say. But all these are videos that are on Instagram, TikTok, and so, and it catalyzes the actual discourse. Maybe you heard of this, another famous hip-hop star in the genre, in German we say Kiff rap. Cannabis consumers rap. She went through a facility with her team. She sang Trapaline. We smoke Trapaline. So that was a clear advertisement. So not for a product. The wholesaler is called Trapaline. It wasn't a fabrication of Trapaline. It was a partner, you know. But I think it's against GMP. They're growing medicine there. It shouldn't be used for how shall I say, pop cultural events. And yes, you see the account from Trapaline. It says, yes, we like this. So I think they see this. They could communicate in another way about this. They like it. So yes. I think it's not grayish. It's in the black area. It's not okay, and it's not ethical at all. So we have strongly peer-related marketing, marketing related to youth culture, and possible conflicts with Heilmittelwerbegesetz. It regulates advertising ban for medicals. We have some telemedical services. Some give the impression that it would be cool if you become a cannabis patient. Or there are YouTubers who make movies about how to become a cannabis patient. I will give an example for that. So peer-related marketing, pop cultural related marketing, you know, gangster rap is rap at all is mainstream culture. It isn't subcultural, not more. It comes from subculture, but it is on the mainstream. But it is a good way. It's associated with cool criminal behavior and so on. And hip-hop is, from its culture, very... hip-hop stars have a marketability, you know, bling-bling, dollar necklaces and so on. It's connected with money, and it's not connected with ethical behavior. So being a gangster, so Yes, we have a mix of polytainment and advertisement. So on the way to CanG, even Karl Lauterbach made a promotion video for CanG with Sido, a famous rapper who is CEO of, I don't know, Cave, and Ziggy's Minze. So these are names, Ziggy's Mint, you know, it's cool under young people, but even to my age, and you have these politicians who go to game shows, and so, and now they talk about plans about politics with hip hop stars who have their medical cannabis company, and the video was linked from the BMG. So that's kind of advertisement. Many people in the biz, uh, it wasn't cool that Lauterbach took this one Persian, and you know it's not cool to link to a company. It was kind of advertisement. Yes, and Sido himself is CEO. He don't have to do these advertisement. His name is, it stands for style, for an image, and it's a cool trick, I think. There's another person from Massiv, the one who was in the picture. He's in the CBD biz. Yes, but young people buy that weed, and I don't think it's really cool. We will come back to this. Another photo of anti-folks. No time to wait for legalization. I'll get me a prescription. That's what she sang on German, what she sang. So we have kind of outsourced responsibility. Forms of this marketing, agencies are responsible for it, but agencies they give the responsibility away to YouTubers, patients, and so on, TikTok videos. So a young peer group is triggered, but I think there are many old people who need to be opened for cannabis, who don't know that cannabis could help them. They wouldn't ask the doctor for cannabis. And maybe companies should make more communication into an older aged group. So one of the negative effects is that patients are being stigmatized. And if there are forms of advertisement who are not very cool, who are not ethical, it's not good for the whole business. So responsibility is being outsourced to influencers. And so we have influencers, you know, the swastika. Last year we had a ferry in Germany, and patients came to me and they said, hey, there was an influencer, a woman, I don't know her name, but she had strange tattoos. Yes, I found it in a video. You see, it's not good when cannabis patients are doing promotion, are doing strain reviews, and it's not good for the company, I think, if their product is being associated with swastika, for example. These are far-right symbols, it's a swastika, and maybe you can't see it clearly. It's a rune, a Germanic rune. These both things, then it's far-right, Nazis. So there are existing senseless and harmful forms of advertising. Imagine you see this on the ferry, you are not German. Uh, it's not good. Um, it's not good for us patients. If advertisement is being made, it's not good. If the whole biz doesn't care about politics and their far-right political symbols, not what I want to see. Next things are merchandising forms. Why should a medical cannabis company, a wholesaler, sell papers and filters and rolling trays and T-shirts? You know, I took opioids for a very long time. I never got granted a T-shirt with a tramadol bunny, for example. That's another picture. I think it was from Sanity, famous DJ. Uh, the bath tube, 60 kilos cannabis was the PR. Clever PR stance. So here you see YouTube thumbnail, how do I become a cannabis patient? You know, we have very ill people in our organization, and it's not something that people want to be ill, and you have to be ill to get a medicament on prescription. So it doesn't fit together, I think. And it's very clear advertisement. I think it's for the company's name, okay, but it's not cool. It's not slowing down stigmatization and effects that stem from long year prohibition. It gives bad association for medical cannabis. So, what was this? Okay, somebody's phone. Hip hop is the one thing. We have false dichotomies. We have many false dichotomies. There is an opposite dualism, nature, cannabis, and pharmaceutical products. Good nature, bad pharmaceutical products. People don't want to take antibiotics because they think there are some natural products. People don't want to take their methylphenidat, maybe even opioids. Maybe opioids make sense for some people, but they have fear, maybe. Maybe it would be better if cannabis and opioids can do their thing combined, maybe, but there are people who are afraid of being addicted from pharmaceutical products, who think that every kind of chemical is bad. And we have to tell people a lot about even cannabis is chemical. We are chemical all around us. Yes. And it leads to some other forms that are problematic. For example, this woman with a swastika. Uh, Nazis had the belief that there will be other forms of medicine. So the term, it is very famous in German when we talk about evidence-based medicine, people often use the term Schulmedizin, school medicine. It came from Rudolf Steiner, from anthroposophic movement. It's related to esotericism, and Nazis used this term too because they thought that evidence-based medicine stems from Jews. They called it verjudet. So in talks with patients, um, very oftenly they have problematic bias, problematic mindset about this whole medicine thing. I had to tell people, you have an active Lyme borreliosis, you have to go to the doctor. He didn't want to go to the doctor because he makes Schulmedizin and because you want to give him antibiotics, you know, antibios against life. So false dichotomies, it isn't good. Natural medicine, cannabis is natural medicine, but there are some discourses which aren't good. So cannabis comes from alternative medicine 20 years ago. There weren't many doctors, traditional doctors, who wanted to prescribe, who were for cannabis, but we have these problems. Even holistic, ganzheitlich. In Germany, it's connected with this political views, let me say so. So cannabis is related even with counterculture. Today, rappers, 30 years ago, hippies. Exotism, esotericism, other than the others, some mysticism, all this is connected with cannabis too in our culture. And that's a problem because freakish hippies, you know, yes, these are dichotomies. And I told you about chemotherapy, antibiotics, and so on. It's not so easy. We have to think more in dialectic ways. So that's the past. Alternative medicine owned cannabis a bit more than evidence-based medicine, but we are in progress. So prohibition is responsible for all this, I think. Everything's okay. We have the past, we have this political framing, we have ideologies, and we have effects of long-lasting prohibition and suppression of medical cannabis use, and we have individual reactants and so on. And yes, patients who got to jail, whom house was searched, driver licensed are being took back, a privilege. No driver license as privilege. There are feelings of unsafety. Patients, consumers couldn't earn money. Many problems. I know patients who lost their hunting license. Before they were patients, they were an official hunter, but after they got the prescription, they wanted to take them the right away, the privilege. Because we're talking about privilege and not a human right, it can be took away. So from prohibition to current decriminalization, I told you some steps, and one of the biggest steps was self-therapy by patients, and that patients fought for the right for self-therapying themselves if there's no prescribing doctor. Yes, 2007 first exceptional approvals. Until 2017 there were some steps I told you about. Exceptional approval to home cultivate, to import, to self-therapy themselves. All this played big roles for patients. So then there was this medical law, reimbursement and so on. I told you the three classes, medical system in Germany. All these are facts why patient supply is still not easy in Germany. But it's a highlighting feature that patients were paid their medicine by the insurances. Yes, we still have this legal framework, and it's according to the old society's framing. Yes, patients are always suspected of abuse, of misuse, and patients have sorrows, how to find a doctor and so on, but doctors too have sorrows. And this patient-doctor setting, patients have to ask doctors to prescribe them medicine. That's a problem at all. Cannabis is no normal medicament. No doctor gives the patient a prescription without patients having asked the doctor before. Yes, it's not a normal situation. If a patient asks the doctor and he has more knowledge about this whole cannabis thing, the whole hierarchy is pulled upside down. Normally, there are very unequal roles. Patient is very small, doctor is an authority. When you're small, you learn a doctor is an authority. And when you as an authority, some freaks come into your clinic. They ask you if you prescribe them cannabis, and they want to tell you how good cannabis is, how it works, and so on. Doctors don't like this. Our authorities don't like this, and it's a big problem. And doctors have to look for compliance, and so they are responsible whom they prescribe what. So doctors must not be bad if they don't prescribe cannabis, and it's all about communication, how a patient asks the doctor. So that's much of our work, giving education, even about communication, So yes, this distinction has to be would be good if it would be smaller, but we have this conservative perspective, and it will take a long time till it opens. So that's the presence. Cannabis is a bit more in the evidence-based medicine sector, but there are still some alternative medicine doctors and so on. There's still the association with this alternative medicine sector. And in Germany, I told you, we have special discussions about this thing. What in other countries isn't associated with bad things, in Germany, this whole alternative medicine thing, it's a bit more freakish because our past and history. And yes, I told you about this discourse, the pseudopatients. With CanG, cannabis is no longer a forbidden narcotic drug. People should be enabled to buy it, but they can't buy it anywhere. So maybe it's normal that people think if pharmacies are the only way and if the numbers rise, if they go up, maybe all these aren't real patients. Maybe these are fake patients. I speak myself out for low barrier access, and we need this, and we don't have the right to think about, is this an ill person, is this no ill person? We don't have the right. And there are many factors that let the numbers rise. Lower prices, product availability, more pharmacies have knowledge about it, more doctors prescribe for self-payers, more telemedical services. Maybe it's a good situation. So more patients, more people who aren't on the black markets, more people who don't are on self-therapy. Maybe it's good. Why shouldn't it be bad? So, yes, I'd switch this. But you know, these advertising ban. I gave you some examples. Maybe these examples are forbidden. Maybe not. But if I don't think it's very ethical. I told you I took some opioids. I never went around in t-shirts with the tramadol chinchilla, for example. There are companies, they have the blueberry bunny or some comic styled figures and so on. I don't think it's really cool, but I like comics, but I don't like things being promoted in this way. I don't think it's a good way even for alcohol. You know, all these tiny bottles. Yes. Again, this picture, I don't think you should associate the image of a pharmacist with this hip-hop style without gloves, rimming the cannabis into your nose, and so, you know, GMP. Yes. Looks like buying cannabis on the black market. So, has it become easier to find a doctor? No. Really not. But maybe over a long time it will get easier. But at this moment, people are yelling, oh, we have CanG, but it's not easier for us patients. I still find no prescribing doctor. Why should CanG bring prescribing doctors? You know, there's no connection between it. Yes, we have short-term sales figures versus long-term market development. It's a question of sustainability, I think. Sustainability is not only a question regarding ecologics, it's even regarding the ecologic system of us patients of high importance. So, will the pond become unfishable before all the fishes are caught? Many companies on the market, many in the red numbers. It's all about surviving and not making profit at this stage. So maybe people shouldn't look for sales at all costs, but for sustainable market development. So this whole medical cannabis thing won't be ruined. Yes. Interpretation, low barrier access versus high barrier access. We have the bee farm, which is responsible for this whole medcan sector, maybe you know. Yes, and we have the GBA, an actual progress regarding the medical guidelines for medical cannabis. Maybe this need for reimbursement for patients from general health insurances won't be necessary in future because some special doctors, neurologists, psychiatrists, anesthesiologists, and so on, would be enabled to prescribe cannabis without this whole application process. So they could prescribe at costs of general insurance. But we wait since March what the Gremium GBA has to say, and it looks like the Gremium GBA, they observe the situation. They look for a study from BfArM, which tells all these self-payers are younger people, maybe pseudo-patients, and maybe this will affect even the situation in which we are in Germany, that general health insurances have to pay for medical cannabis and even for flowers, because all these high prescriptions, they are in the flower area. Yes, they don't buy extracts, these young people, they buy flowers. So we have a situation which leads to some discussion, but Corona gets always, it's for being forget. Over the last years, we had some crises. We had Corona, we have wars, we had people who couldn't went out for some months and so on, and we know that these all affected drug consumption, and people get more depressed. Why shouldn't they take cannabis? For example, depression leads to some other, how shall I say, functions. When I'm depressed, maybe I have more pain and so on. So things could be connected without this whole black market decriminalization thing. So it's all suspicion. It's a very harmful internal debate in our Metcon milieu that we have in Germany, because it's good when we have more patients. So I told you about this Gremium GBA. Maybe it won't be possible in some years for doctors to prescribe flowers anymore, because we are still in the no label use, and maybe there will be some other medical cannabis productions, extracts and so on, inhalers, which could be better for flowers and which have been studied, scientific research and so on, double-blind studies. The industry should put some money in scientific research instead of marketing, I think. Yes, and we are again at the question of self-therapy. Does self-therapy, will it die? No, I don't think. People will have in future still the needs to self-therapize themselves. It's not only for people who don't get prescriptions, maybe doctors don't prescribe enough and so on. Maybe the right strain hasn't been found yet, could even be the black market strain was better, or so on. So maybe I would like that this is the future. Cannabis should move in the whole evidence-based sectors. Patients don't have to ask their doctor. The doctor advises, he knows. He writes the prescription without being asked, even to old people. And it won't be related to this alternative medicine sector anymore. Yes. That's the whole thing. That's what our work in the SCM is about. We do political lobbying. We are writing statements to political progresses. And yes, it will went on for some years, I think. Thank you for your audience.